Hello and welcome to Sammy's Midnight Hour. I'm your host, Sam, and this is my wife, Tish.
Hi.
And we have just started a new podcast. What we're going to be doing mostly is true crime, stuff that we might find, like you would hear or see in the newspaper, hear in the news. Then we'll also revisit some older true crimes. Today we've got something a little special for you.
So this story is based from a murder that's happened really close to our area. And it happened several years ago, but it still is just so tragic. We wanted to share it with you. So here we go.
In a small town in 1986, Kathy Jones and Jim Smith, along with their family and friends, joined together in a little town in Ohio for the marriage of Jim and Kathy. The families truly believed that they had found their soulmates in each other, settling in on a large farm that was no longer a working farm. Jim and Kathy loved to raise a few animals for themselves and loved cooking out with their family.
The family was quoted as saying that they never used the word step-parents. Jim had two sons, Eric and Brian. Eric was the younger son and was also the best man at his wedding. Brian, on the other hand, was the older son and had a falling out with his dad years earlier. And Brian didn't attend the wedding.
Jim and Kathy worked long hours at a local restaurant in a small community less than 30 minutes from their home during the day. Jim worked in a factory and then would work the store in the evenings. 3 years after their wedding, tragedy struck this family. Jack's son Eric had moved away and got married and started a family of his own.
In 1998, the family dynamics would change when their granddaughter Ashley got pregnant. After the birth of baby Devin, Jim and Kathy took him in to raise to help Ashley so she could finish school. In 2023, Jim's son Eric's life started to unravel. He had no job. He was getting a divorce. He depended on Jim and Kathy to support him. At one point, Jim and Kathy had to get tough on Eric and demand that he pay his own way. But no one could have imagined how this decision that Jim and Kathy made towards their son Eric that would change their lives forever.
Ashley, their granddaughter, the mother of Devin, got married to a good man. Ashley was getting her life together and preparing to bring Devin back into their household to live. On March 27, 2003, a 911 call came into dispatch. A young boy of 4 years old had run over a whole mile by himself to his preschool to explain to the teachers that my grandparents are melting. The first officers on the scene explained that the house was eerily quiet. Looking through the residence, they found the bodies of Jim and Kathy side by side in their bedroom. Kathy had been shot in the face and also in the hand, as if she had raised her hand to protect herself. So clearly the gunman had looked her in the face before he shot her. Jim had been shot in the back of the neck.
The officers had explained that they had believed that the bodies had not been there for days because of the warmth of the bodies when they were found. They believed that they had been there for a couple of hours. To the detectives, the pattern of the gunshots looked like something from a 12-gauge shotgun. Later, shotgun slugs were found in the pillowcase of the victims. The detectives surmised that Jim was hit first and then Kathy. The detectives are quoted as to saying that they believed that this was a cold and callous crime. Detectives went to Ashley's house to talk to her about the murders of her grandparents.
Ashley had called her mother Tina, and she had already talked to the detectives. The young man of 4 years old, Devin, had stayed at the preschool with one of the detectives. The detectives believed that it was for his own protection. One of the detectives was able to help Devin to be able to explain how he found his grandparents. Devin explained that he had gone into his grandparents' bedroom, and he explained his grandmother's face was gone. Devin went over to his grandfather and saw blood coming out of his nose and tried to clean it up.
During the investigation, detectives found shoe impressions outside the basement window. Detectives found cash and electronics all over the residence. Detectives do not believe robbery was the motive, but something far more sinister. There was blood transfer to Devon's sheets, and that would indicate that the killer had gone into Devon's room after the murders. Detectives used puppets to help Devon to explain what happened that day. Devon explained it was a green monster. Devon also explained that he was scared. He closed his eyes, and then when he opened them again, the green monster was gone.
After 7 years of marriage, the detective started to look at those who were close to Jim and Kathy. Kathy's daughter Tina suspected Brian all along. She suspected him because he had a criminal record. The family is quoted as saying that they didn't know who did it, but they knew it had to have been somebody that was close to the family. Other evidence found at the scene was the brand Federal Sabot ammunition was used in the murder. This would be a significant part to help find the killer.
Detectives talked to the younger son, Eric, about the older brother. And Eric explained that he was closer to his dad than his older brother. And they hadn't seen the older brother for well over 7 years. Detectives talked to Brian, who was the older brother. He struggled with his alibi and said that he was asleep at home in bed. Brian also explained that he had only come back to the area to meet with his younger brother's children. Little did they know that a man that used to hunt with Eric, the younger brother, a man named Joe Hameldollar, called the police and wanted to make a statement. Joe heard Eric say if his dad and stepmom were dead, that he would get the farm. Family and friends are quoted in saying that Eric was never violent.
Later, after the investigation, Brian, the older brother, was cleared completely. It was corroborated that he was miles away during the murder. Finally, Eric was called back for questioning. Eric knew at this point that he was in trouble and asked for a lawyer. The lead detective on the case told his team they knew who had committed the murders, but they needed a real evidence to convict him. So the detectives went back to the crime scene to see if they were missing anything. After searching Eric's wallet, they found a gift card from Walmart. Later, it was determined that Federal Sabot slugs for the 12-gauge shotgun was bought by Eric at a Walmart store with the same gift card. The next thing on the list for detectives was to find the 12-gauge shotgun. They had begun searching in and around the area and found a 12-gauge shotgun in the Stillwater River and also a trash bag alongside the shores. In the trash bag were shoes that matched the shoe prints outside the basement window at Jim and Kathy's home, and latex gloves that later forensics found Eric fingerprints inside. There was also a green jumpsuit in the trash bag, as well as indicated by Devon, that was worn by the killer.
Eric's girlfriend told detectives that he had left work early that morning. It was the morning of the murders, and later the 12-gauge shotgun was traced back to Eric by the original owner. It is surmised that Eric snuck in through the basement window. Because he was a family member, he knew his way around the home. He snuck into the bedroom of his father and stepmother with a makeshift silencer on a 12-gauge shotgun and shot Jim in the back of the head, then pumped the shotgun again and shot Kathy in the face through her hand as she held it up to protect herself. All the while, his 4-year-old nephew Devon was in the house the whole time.
It would be later determined that the killer had gone into Devon's bedroom, as Devon remembered leaving a blood transfer behind. Eric was arrested and then convicted later of 2 counts of aggravated murder with life in prison with no possibility of parole. Eric was also found guilty of aggravated burglary, which added an extra 5 years to the sentence. Eric remains incarcerated today at the Marion Correctional Institute in Ohio.
So I went ahead and I looked up where he was located, where he went to prison, because I was curious to know. For one, I wanted to know if he was still in prison, and he is, and I wanted to know where he was located. So, and I did find out that he is still incarcerated, like you had said, in Marion Correctional Institute in Ohio. So I just wonder how this family's doing today. It's been so many years since the murderers of these wonderful people, and if you knew these people, you would know how much they gave back to their community, how much they loved their family, how much their family loved them. It just seems like such a sad story, that this family even today has to be hurting. What do you think?
Even through watching home movies, you could watch, or you could actually see, the way this family just gelled together. They was always having a cookout. They always talked about, being out at the farm.
Mm-hmm.
You see them playing on a tire swing. And not just the kids, all of them. The adults and everybody would, they said that, the kids would go off and play sometimes, and that the adults would sit, and have their adult beverages. One thing that intrigued me about the whole case was the fact that they found a Walmart card inside his wallet.
Yeah.
You would almost think that would be something you'd get rid of. I'm not saying, that he should, but that you would think that it was something that he would have got rid of, something that wouldn't have tied him like that.
Do you think he just didn't think he was going to get caught?
He might have, because I think from the way it looked to me, that they just seemed that it was all going to get thrown on his older brother, who, had the record
and let us just say that his older brother was totally cleared of all charges too. Just want to
all charges.
Yeah, all charges. Just want to say that. Go ahead.
But I think he thought that he wouldn't get caught doing that they would just throw it all off on the older brother because him and his father didn't get along.
Right.
And that would be the perfect way, trying to basically, to me it looks like it would be trying to be the perfect murder.
Well, and even some of the family members thought that it might have been the older brother as well.
Well, they blamed him first because they said that there was no way. Watching like the documentary about it, reading a little bit about it,
mm-hmm.
They said that there was just no violence.
No, he just
in
had
Eric
no
whatsoever. That there was just nothing there. That he said he didn't argue with people, didn't even raise his voice.
Mm-mm.
So it just kind of leads you to believe that, for the power of money, greed, can lead to a lot of different things.
Right. I just have true hopes that this family has been able to heal and grieve and be able to have moved on, and had a wonderful life. That's what I hope for them, as well. And I have to agree with you. I do think that I think that the Walmart card was a huge break in this case. Between that and the shotgun being linked back to him by the original owner, that those two items I think probably had to be the biggest. But then of course finding the shotgun and finding the bag with all the evidence in it, and then of course the fingerprints, of course, in the latex gloves was a huge thing too.
And even finding like the little like when they first went in, when detectives first went in, they as they're looking around, they're trying to find spent shell casings, and found none. The only thing they found was little pieces of the shell casings on the floor. At the time, they didn't quite know what it was, but they had an idea of what it was. It was small things like that kind of that that Eric left behind, and kind of tied everything to him. And then of course when they found the shotgun and the shoes and the gloves with his fingerprints in it,
right,
and of course the green suit that the little boy said that he saw the green monster come in, I think that pretty much sealed his doom.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Man, can you imagine that young boy running over a mile through cornfields, bean fields, whatever it was at the time? And this was not in the summer. This is in March, and it's cold here in March. It can be negative, negative in the zeros. Can you imagine what was going through his mind, running? I guess that was a safe place. His preschool where he ran to was, in his mind, that was help.
Right.
He knew that was help.
He knew people there. That's where,
right.
That was the only other place he knew, and luckily it was as close as it was.
Yes, yeah, of course. I just hope, again, that he as well is able to heal from this tragedy that he has went through and kind of continues to go through as well. Just hoping that the family, like I said, is safe and happy and just is able to just remember these individuals, these two individuals, and just celebrate their life, because these individuals were in their 50s. I think, if I remember the story correctly, I think Kathy was 55, and I think Jim was 51. Now I could be wrong about that. Could be opposite, but they were right in the middle of their life. They had found each other. They've
been together for 7 years. They've been married for 7 years.
Right. They had been married. They had been married before, and they found each other, and that's just and people around them, to hear them talk about them. They truly believed, even on the people from the outside, believed these two were soulmates. And just makes the story just even more sad, don't you think?
Yes, very sad. It just, you think that, you find, basically the love of your life, and you think, wow, this is how things are going to end, and you think, you got that fairy tale ending, and then it ends like something out of a horror movie. I'll tell you one thing that really gave me the chills through the whole thing was when that little boy described them as melting.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's exactly how it would look at 4 years old, is that you see all that, the blood and all the stuff running down. You would think that that's what was going on. That here his grandparents are, they're just laying in bed melting. That just gave me the chills, made the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
I agree. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will have another story next week. We're gonna delve into some old murders, I think, first. Is that where we're heading? I think
that's what we'll do. We'll dive into some old stuff.
And we're gonna, I think, like the Ted Bundys and the John Wayne Gacy's have been done to death. So I think what we're gonna try to do is more of a local type of thing.
To find local stuff.
Local murders that have happened in and around our area, and just broadcasting on those. But thank you again, guys, for tuning in.
And also to let you know, on some of these that we do, and especially this one, we change the names to protect the innocent. Now on some of them we won't change some of the names, but on this one we changed all the names, just to kind of keep that way they can keep their privacy, and people aren't calling them up and knocking on doors and stuff like that, trying to ask questions.
It was important. This family has been hurt enough, and I thought it was an important story to tell, but I didn't think that it was, we didn't want to hurt anybody doing it. So definitely.
So to wrap things up, we will see you again, or we will talk to you again, actually. It'll be, what we'll do is we'll have another, see what happens, when the hand strikes midnight, and we chime in another tale from Sammy's Midnight Hour.